Sometimes you just gotta hit the panic button and fish a drop shot. Welcome back to The Fishing Consultant, and today's episode was brought to you by Tom Fishes. He left a comment about drop shot and got the most likes. If you want to be featured in the next episode of The Fishing Consultant, leave a question below and get the most likes. When it comes to drop shot, it's one of my favorite ways to always make sure I catch fish. Smallmouths love a drop shot. And here's a little tip for y'all. If your drop shot hook is tied on and is upside down like that, instead of cutting it off and retying, all you need to do is take that tag end and feed it back through the eye of the hook and then pull it down, and then magically your hook is now going to be pointed the right way up. The tag end we're just going to tie to the weight. For the weight, I like to go as light as possible, so 1/4 ounce to 1/16. You don't want to go too heavy, because if a bass lightly picks up your drop shot worm and they don't really hit it, you're not going to feel it that easily. If your weight is too heavy, you're just going to feel your weight. And I also like tying on the weight was a uni knot, but instead of wrapping it 5 times like I would to my hook, I'm only going to wrap it twice. The reason for that being is I want my weight to have a weaker knot, because in case I get this weight stuck somewhere, I can break off just a weight and retie another one instead of having to cut off my whole line. And that's our completed drop shot. Depending on where you're fishing, if you're fishing above grass, you want this hook to be slightly above that grass, usually like 6 to 8 inches is good. And for the line, I'm always going to be fishing this on fluorocarbon, because the amount of line that's just hanging out in the water on a drop shot, I want to make sure that the line that I'm using is as clear as possible. Now, what do we fish on our drop shot? My first choice always for a drop shot is going to be the RoboWorm. Everyone knows how good a RoboWorm is on a drop shot hook. Similar things is like this Zoom Z-Drop. Zoom makes a drop shot worm. That's kind of the same idea. I like any kind of thin, long, soft plastic for the back of my drop shots. Just something that can get that nice action going, really light and subtle. Dice on a drop shot is also a really great option. So then how do we fish a drop shot, right? So I'm going to cast this out, spinning rod or bait casting rod, whichever you like. And I'm going to let this hit bottom, and I'm going to reel in the slack. I want my line to be tight to that weight. And once it's tight, I'm going to try to give my rod zero action, right? With this line tight, as you can see, I'm trying to hold this rod tip as still as possible. But as you can see, these light movements in my hand, even though I'm trying to hold it still, my rod tip is moving really gently. And that's enough action to get this worm to kind of give those nice flowing actions. Try to give your rod zero action. And I also like to mix in a few drops of my rod. So drop my rod tip. And what that does is when I drop my rod tip, all the slack in my line is going to suddenly come out, and that worm is going to slowly fall down to the bottom, and then I'm just going to lift it back up. And we can kind of get this kind of dying bait fish coming back up, dying back down, and we can repeat that over and over again. So those are my tips for catching more bass on a drop shot. If you want to be featured in the next episode of The Fishing Consultant, leave a comment below on what part of bass fishing you want to learn about, and if you get the most likes, you'll be featured. So what are you waiting for? Get out there!